Our House Environment and Agriculture Committee meeting to order. We are here to exec a bill, SB 302, maybe. But before we start, there's a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to stand and have Representative Potenza lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you. One first thing I want to make of note is, of course, it appears, and I'm sure you've heard through the rumor mill, we've had a bit of a staff change. Representative Comtois is no longer our vice chair, and I hope that we will all welcome Representative Barber as our new vice chair. This is a result of changes the Speaker's office has decided to make, and we are just, as a committee, this is how we will proceed. And I can certainly entertain any discussion after this meeting is over, but I just wanted to make that announcement so that you're all not wondering why Representative Barber is sitting to my right. And that is it. Today we are in front of us we have SB 302, which is the bill requiring background checks for solid waste facility owners. We did have a hearing on this bill. And since that hearing, I had not only an amendment that was presented to me by Senator Pearl, which they did not have time to incorporate into this bill, and I had to replicate that as a House amendment as opposed to a Senate amendment. So I went to OLS and I did that. But then after that happened, I had an email from Director Wimsatt from DES requesting some additional tweaks and changes to the language that he discovered the FBI needed to do for these background checks. So I incorporated that into the same same language that was already in the amendment, and so OLS then came up with the amendment that we have all in front of us here, which I shared with you via email, 2025-1687H. So this incorporates not only Senator Pearl's updated language, but also the additional language that Director Wimsatt requested. And I checked to make sure that this amendment was, that OLS didn't make any mistakes or whatever, we didn't leave anything out. So I had them review it again, and Senator Pearl and Director Wimsatt concurred that this version of the amendment was fine. We also have an amendment that Representative Potenza has put together, which takes this amendment of mine, 1687, and adds language to it from the budget bill. It includes the establishment of the Site Evaluation Committee, which includes moratorium language, which also includes harms and benefits language that was in a bill that we had, which was retained by Finance because they incorporated it into the budget bill. So what we have before us today, with the possibility of execing this SB 302, is twofold, two things. We can exec this bill today. I mean, we only have this one bill in this committee now to finish up our work. We can exec this bill today with the amendment that I have, which incorporates Senator Pearl's language and Director Wimsatt's language. Or we can recess this exec session of SB 302 to Tuesday, whereby we would have to have a hearing, a separate hearing for the amendment which Representative Potenza has presented, because that would be a non-germane amendment. And so we would need to have a special hearing for a non-germane amendment and then decide to exec the bill after with that amendment. So my question to you all, and I'll give Representative Potenza a chance to talk about what she's presenting. But my question to you all is today, we have to decide whether we are going to exec this bill with my amendment, or meet again on Tuesday, just come in, do a hearing and exec a bill on Tuesday. I am neutral on either choice for me personally. I mean, I'd rather not come back and do a special hearing, but I'm neutral to the idea either way and would entertain discussion as to what you all would like to do. But I would like Representative Potenza to give us more background and more information about why she is presenting this specific amendment to us. So Representative Potenza, please talk to us.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for giving me this moment. So I just believe that the amount of work that has been done, and let's just, let's go back. So the governor put forward, even during her campaigning, even during her inauguration speech, and then, of course, in her budget, in HB2 specifically, she put in this SEC language along with public benefit, okay? And we, as a committee, which we've been working for years on separate, all these different bills, we're already working on, let's say 70% of what she put in there. So, which it had, of course, we have a moratorium. I like to call it a pause. You have the public benefit bill. And then, of course, just having some oversight that has not been there previously. So, which some of that oversight is actually incorporated in one of my bills, which I didn't even bother to put in here. This was the governor's language, which was about 10 pages, I believe, that came in HB2. And now it's, I think, 12 or so. And all that language was basically just kind of fixed to match the legislation that we spent hours on, working with the governor's office on to clean it up, as well as working with DES. And there's a lot of people that spent a lot of time. I really believe that for us to get to a yes on the budget is not going to happen. And that all of that work and all of that language goes away because it's not in a bill. And I'm hoping that doing this, because I don't want to hurt the underlying bill. It's not about that. It's about this is truly her, this is her priority, and we did all of the work as a committee to get there. And so I want this to be a standalone. If it's not a standalone and that budget doesn't pass, this is all gone. And I can't even imagine starting it over. So if this goes through, we immediately call the governor to say, hey, Governor, please work with the Senate and say that you need this because, this is, not necessarily going to happen in HB2. The other piece of this is there has been a lot of communication from the other side of the aisle that has talked about a lot of policy that was stuffed into HB2 that will be stripped out. And so the only reason why I'm doing this is because I thought that the Senate was going to do this, and they're not. And even if, they do something and they put this in another one of their bills, this is basically like coming from both sides. As we've seen this session alone, the amount of duplicate bills that is coming from the House side and the Senate side is big. And I think it just shows that this is a priority, that we are ready to actually get something really done for the people, that has been hashed out like you can't even imagine, has, of course, the agency behind us as well. This is the governor's priority, and I would like to be able to deliver this. So that's why I did. If people can't come to the executive session next week if that's a problem. I know we don't all have to be here. And if I put anybody out and, you're not for, showing up on Tuesday, I get it. But that's the reasoning. This isn't anything else except for it's not in a bill right now. And all that work will be gone. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, thank you for that whole backstory and information. I do want to say that on my way over here, I first ran into the governor, and I asked the governor, so what will happen if the budget doesn't go through to your siting evaluation committee and all the language that goes along with that? And she said to me, well, if the budget doesn't get passed, she said, talk to Senator Rochefort because he's the point man on this particular piece of the budget bill. And she said, I definitely want to see that pass, but he's the person to talk to about this. Fortuitously, as I was continuing my way over here, I also ran into Senator Rochefort. And I asked him, I said, so Senator Rochefort, it's divine intervention, you think. So I said, so Senator Rochefort, if the budget doesn't pass, what do you believe will happen with the SEC language and all the other, landfill stuff that's in the budget? He said to me, I am working with Senator Avard right now to put that language into a separate bill, primarily HB 171, which is the moratorium bill. He said, we will have that in a standalone bill, and that's where it's going to go. So I'm just putting that out there, that they are apparently, and I said to him, well, I thought Senator Waters was going to do that and then didn't. He said, we are doing that. We are putting that language from the budget bill into HB 171. Representative Barber was there when I spoke to him. So I guess, I just want to let you guys know that I did have that conversation, and I was made the assurance that that this portion of the budget bill was going to go into our House bill. Representative Bixby, you look like you want to say something.
So, first of all, I really appreciate what Representative Potenza is working on here.
Absolutely.
I think that it is very important to have another option out there in case the budget goes down and in case something gets confused on the way in the Senate. I think that we should continue with the amendment of 302 with this. It will end up in a committee of conference in one way or another. The committee of conference might end up being, well, they've amended 171, so we just need to take this out.
Okay.
Or it could be that something unfortunate happened to 171 on the way to the fair, and we need another option available, in which case this will be there.
Okay, so belts and suspenders, I
Yeah.
see.
The another aspect of it is that I talked to Senator Waters yesterday afternoon. He was not as informative as I might have wished him to be, but one of the things that he mentioned to me was that Senator Pearl was going to be talking with the governor about the language that is currently in the budget and looking for some sort of changes to that. I don't know any more about that. I will have to talk with Senator Pearl about that and perhaps talk to see if Senator Rochefort has been in communication with Senator Pearl, because I think that we need to, if there are going to be changes, we want to have input from someone who is friendly to our version of it. And I think that Senator Rochefort is probably the best person in that position. But we might also want to get in touch with Senator Pearl ourselves. And so what I'm hoping is that, there'll be some version of this which is standalone, just in case things look bad in the budget process. And I would like to have as many options out there, so I would like to be able to have the hearing on this on Tuesday and then, and put on Representative Potenza's amendment.
Okay. Anyone else feel, Representative Germana and then Representative Haskins?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Bixby said most of what I was going to say, but I do want to again commend Representative Potenza, because one of the things that she did, which I really appreciate, honestly, is not put 707 in this, because we all want 707 and we want to fight for it. But I think we have a better chance of getting this decoupled. So, and that's something she put in so much work on. So I think that was a decision that she made for the benefit of the committee and our work. And that was a really, really stand-up thing to do. So I want to acknowledge that. And also, just to then second everything that Representative Bixby said about why I also agree that we should have our own standalone version of this.
Representative Freeman and then Haskins, okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Procedurally, if we have, because this is an amendment, we do have to hold a hearing. Have the hearing. If things don't pan out with the other body on the other side of the wall, at least this would be something in, on the finish line that we would be able to introduce as a floor amendment. Is that not correct?
No, I don't know if that,
That's not quite the way it works.
Okay,
No,
that's why I
yeah,
asked.
yeah.
That's why I asked.
Okay,
yeah.
So the process is, once we pass it out of the House, then there'll be a House message to the Senate, just like we had Senate messages this morning.
Right.
And they will have the option of either concurring, non-concurring, or requesting a committee of conference, and what we want them to do, and we will let as many members as we have who are in support of this over there say, we will want them to request a committee of conference on this.
May I have a follow-up, Madam Chair? And
Sure.
thank you for
Yeah,
that, because I was concerned about that. If this amendment is exactly what we all intended it to be. And Kelly, I can't thank you enough. I mean, this is a lot of work you did. I just want to make sure that we have a safety net, so this doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Right.
And I think even if they call a committee of conference, we can at least know that it's still in play. So thank you for clarifying that, Representative.
Okay. Representative Haskins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Of course, we have no idea who's going to be in the committee of conference. I do get a little nervous about our friends on the other side of the wall. We've been talking to them for a long time about this. So absolutely want to honor all the work that my colleague Rep. Potenza has done, Rep. Germana, and others. I think the standalone is necessary. I don't care how many times I have to come back. I just want it to get done. So I support what the committee decides to do.
And the committees of conference are not going to happen for a while, is what
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah.
So,
Summer.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, Representative Bixby.
Yes, so
hello.
another aspect of the committee of conference with this is, as a standalone bill, the speaker, for our side of the committee of conference, the speaker will ask our chairperson who she wants to have on the committee. And as opposed to, if it is just in the budget, it would be all finance people. So that's another argument in favoring of having this as a standalone.
Okay. We also run the risk, though, of passing this out on Tuesday with Representative Potenza's amendment, it going to the Senate, and them just simply killing it and taking the underlying bill and sticking it somewhere else. So, I mean, that's a reality, too. So, I mean, it's a chess game. So we'll just see what happens with that.
And that is why I made the comment of needing to, when it gets sent over there, we need to lobby people we know that look favorably on it in the Senate, so that they will choose to, hoping that they can prevail on their colleagues to request the committee of conference.
Representative Scully and Representative Gruber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I'm going to once again find myself in a minority regarding this issue. I really dislike non-germane amendments to bills. And the fact that they do that in HB2 and create this gigantic Jenga tower, putting all these things in there, hoping they'll all get passed. And you see what happens when you do that too often. I do not like the idea of taking one person's bill and figuratively holding a gun to its head, saying, if you don't give us what we want, yours is not going to pass. So I will vote for the amendment that you created, that Senator Pearl in our DES has agreed is the right one. Obviously the committee can do what it wishes in this matter, but I'm going to vote for the base bill, and I'm not going to vote for another non-germane amendment bill.
Representative Gruber.
Thank you, Chair. I was concerned from the get-go of putting our solid waste work within the budget, because HB2 really is supposed to be the budget. And so I'm actually very supportive of having a standalone effort where the focus could be on what it is, solid waste, not the budget. And so I would support that effort, having a standalone.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Representative Comtois? No? Nobody? Representative Barber?
Thank you. I actually have a question for Representative Scully. I have a lot to learn. Can you explain to me, this is our bill, am I right?
Mhm. Yep.
So how is this a non-germane, or Representative Potenza, can you explain to me, because I'm confused by what was just,
Okay, well, it's
Suggested.
my understanding this is an amendment to a Senate bill that we're voting on.
Okay, but but it's our bill now. It's in our committee, and I don't know how important this bill or not. We're not hijacking to do any of that. So the reason why this is in here is because there was a lot of, and it's non-germane because there was never a hearing on it. So the SEC specifically, which was the governor's language, and then we have public benefit mixed in, which was part of a bill that we had, and then of course moratorium, which is another part of a bill that we had. So that's the reason why it's non-germane in a sense. That's why we have to have, based upon our rules, we have to have a hearing, and so that hearing's going to happen, and people will hopefully all say this is great, and then that position, it becomes a House position, which is wonderful to move forward. Because right now, this just only lives, and I agree with you, omnibus budgets are not good, and stuffing all of that in is not good. HB1 is the money, right? HB2 is supposed to have, they're supposed to kind of coincide, and they're not. And just so you know, that hasn't always been the case. If you want to have some history, Representative Comtois will be able to tell you some history about that. It really actually started, I would say, about the last 5 years, and it's continuing to get worse. So we're not getting better; we're getting worse. And part of that was because, let's say, if there was a governor that was in place that we knew was going to veto something, even against the party or whatever, and it's both sides, right? Both parties, and that's when stuff started getting stuffed in the budget, because okay, well, he's going to be supportive of the budget, and that's been kind of this thing that's been happening. But yeah, it should be clean. We are not the little mini Congress of the federal government, but we're acting like that, and I agree with that. But this is really so very important in so many ways. I understand and I respect your opinion. I still think that we need to do this and have it be its own bill.
As far as I'm concerned, I believe it's all germane. I mean, insofar as it all has to do with landfills and landfill management, landfill siting, and all of that. But it's deemed non-germane simply because it is right now in the budget, and this part of the that never really had a separate public hearing for that policy. That's why we would have to have a hearing for a non-germane amendment on Tuesday in order to exec this amendment that Representative Potenza has brought forward. Representative Bixby.
Just a historical note. I think that the practice of putting policy stuff into the budget has actually been around for a fair bit longer than that. There was some stuff that was stuffed into the 2017 budget by the state vet that we spent, or maybe it was I think it was 2017, that we spent 2 years trying to fix because what he did on his own wasn't great. And I don't think that was the first time that something went into the budget that was policy. So I think it might have gotten worse, but I think this game has been played for a very long time.
Representative Comtois.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Representative Bixby that the adding of things to the HB2 has been going on for quite some time, but it was really exasperated under COVID, is really what really put things in motion. And I don't think that we've been able to pull back from that point on.
Okay. All right. So with that all being said, I'd like to see a show of hands of who would like to recess this SB 302 to Tuesday. Yes, Representative Wheeler, I'm sorry.
I was raising my hand for the.
I wasn't looking over there. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so
you're
about to make a motion.
Okay, not make a motion, but I would like to see a show of hands of who would like to have SB 302 recessed to the exec session, recessed to Tuesday next week, so we can have a separate hearing on the non-germane amendment of 2025-2012H. And we would come back on Tuesday for that. Show of hands. Okay. All but one. All right. So then I am going to recess our exec session on SB 302 for May 13 at 10 a.m. Here at the LOB room 301, 303. And we will have a hearing for the non-germane amendment 2025-2012H on that day. And I thank you very much for spending extra time and coming. Yeah, I'm texting him because that's what he told me to do.
Yeah,
He's all set.
Madam Chair, can I give the committee a quick update on 566?
You sure may.
Thank you, and I apologize. But just so 566 was our leachate management bill. Unanimous out of the committee on the consent calendar. It went over to the Senate. There was a hearing. There was nobody who testified against it in the hearing. And then a couple of members of the Senate Environment and Natural Resources Committee said they heard from some people outside of the hearing who expressed concerns. So the committee voted to re-refer the bill, their version of retaining the bill. I have been working with members of that committee and reaching out to certain members of the industry. We have some language now that is kind of a reworking of that bill, and I'm happy to share it with everyone. I've shared it with the chair and the ranking member. I think that it accomplishes what we want. We would like Director Wimsatt to take a look at it when he gets back next week. But the Senate, for the time being, is holding off on that bill. So we have an amendment. I think it accomplishes what we want. And I'm hopeful that we can get it agreed upon. And then when they bring it forward to the Senate, what they would do is overturn the re-refer, add a floor amendment, and pass it OTPA and come back to us for concurrence. And so far in my conversations with the chair and the ranking member, I think we all feel that it is something right now we think we could concur with.
Madam Chair, may I speak?
Yes, you may, Representative
A
Minor.
question, Representative Germana. What did we lose with there has to be give and take, and I think we lost something.
Yes, thank you for the question. So the two main differences between the version we passed and the version that we are, and now I lost the email. Okay, here it is. That we're looking at. Number one, the original version said that the Department of Environmental Services had to make a positive determination that the permit application includes a detailed leachate management plan. I think the objection on legal grounds was to the phrase positive determination. So that language was changed a little bit just to say that the application has to include the plan. So it's taking out the phrase positive determination. I don't personally think that we lose anything there.
So it's semantics. I mean, we can live with that.
Right, that's number one. Absolutely, I agree. Number two, which is a little bit trickier, is that they, and I'm scrolling down through my notes, right now, our version says that contractual arrangements shall demonstrate that the expected daily production of leachate can and will be transported off-site in a manner that will minimize the possibility of on-site contamination, and it goes on a little bit from there. That language, I think, has been weakened a little bit. The new version that we're talking about would include language that says contractual arrangements between the permittee and at least 2 leachate disposal facilities demonstrating that the permittee will be able to comply with the leachate disposal provisions of its operating plan. So, and to get through the details, I think what that does is it takes out our stronger language and basically inserts language that makes the bill overlap more with rules.
Yeah. I agree.
And so I think the language is a little bit weaker there, but I don't actually think the impact is that significant.
Exactly. It hasn't destroyed it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments for the good of the committee? Seeing none, maybe one more thing. Oh, we have, yes, go ahead.
Have you, excuse me, have you finished arrangements with UNH for
Yes.
our field trip?
Yes. So I have been in email discussions with Anton Beckerman. Let me just pull up my email here. And they are all set with us to come on the 20th in the afternoon. I sent that information to all of you in an email of what the proposed agenda will be for that. And yeah, so he is going to send a full itinerary and addresses of where we're supposed to be in a couple of days. But they're got it all on their end for us to have a tour starting at 1:30. And I am going to double check with the speaker's office also to make sure that we have a reimbursement for mileage.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I've been threatening for several weeks to invite you all to my farm. And so we have actually started processing, and my wife will soon be in contact with you to give you a couple of dates that you can choose from. Perhaps one date won't work for another, and others will be able to make that date. But the plan I'm trying to make is there'll be a couple of dates where you can split it up or come, whatever you guys want to do.
All right, certainly.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Yes, that's what I will do. I'm sure it will be. That's right. Tuesday, at least we get. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Other than that, any other things going on?
I just want to say one thing, if I can, because I just want to know whatever goes on in leadership or wherever, like our committee is strong, it's solid, we're the best in the house. Barbara, if you were going to say that you were going to leave, we would have dragged you back here in chains. We love you, we respect you. It doesn't matter what title you have or don't have. You're a champion in our book, and so. It doesn't matter. We're our own, we could run this place. I know we could. So, and I just wanted to put that out there because I think it's really important, and we all got your back.
Thank you, everybody. All right, so we'll see you Tuesday. Thank you.